I think people overrate his boxing ability, in my opinion.
You think Tank's a better boxer?
Floyd Mayweather didn't shy away from sharing his thoughts on Gervonta "Tank" Davis's controversial draw against Lamont Roach Jr. He made it clear that Davis's performance fell short of expectations. But what really caught attention was his criticism of Tank's approach in the ring. Mayweather called out Davis for using questionable tactics, something that many fans and analysts had already pointed out during the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good fight overall. Lamont, I always knew Lamont was, he wasn't coming to lay down. I've been knowing Lamont since we was kids, so we came up in amateurs together. So I knew Lamont was serious. He was coming in there to fight, but he did a lot better than.
Mayweather pointed out several instances where Tank appeared to deliberately use his shoulder to hit Roach in the face, but the referee either missed it or ignored it. In his own words, Mayweather said, "I'm ashamed of them. Tank was playing dirty, bumping Roach with his shoulder. The ref didn't see it, or maybe he just chose not to." This immediately sparked debate, as Tank has always been known for his aggressive style. However, many believe he was getting frustrated against Roach and resorted to these tactics to gain an advantage.
Going through your mind when you heard the decision?
Nobody like a draw, from a guy that get knockouts and things like that, but it's cool. I feel like if we fight again, I could do more.
Mayweather didn't just call out Tank's rough tactics. He also pointed to something even more concerning: the words exchanged in the ring. According to Roach, Davis told him, "They ain't going to give it to you," which Mayweather saw as a major red flag. To him, this was a clear sign that Tank himself believed he was losing. Mayweather explained, "When a fighter knows he's losing and says something like that, you know something's wrong." This only added to the controversy, as fans began questioning whether Davis truly earned the draw or if the judges had stepped in to save him from an even bigger embarrassment.
What do you make of his comments?
Boxing has become this thing where, you have to be undefeated for people to care about you, and that's all going to go. My son just went to that show this weekend. He said the live event was terrible. Disorganized.
You mean at Barclays?
Yeah. Disorganized, and we're going to clean that up. We're going to make the live events great again, too.
Mayweather also pointed out a key factor that some were ignoring: styles make fights. He acknowledged that Tank is an incredibly skilled fighter, but insisted that Roach's style gave him real trouble. Boxing is a game of styles. Tank can make it look easy against Garcia, but against Roach, the style was just a challenge for him. "Props to the kid. I hope they give him the win he deserves," Mayweather said. This was a strong statement, as it suggested he didn't believe Davis truly won. While he didn't outright call the decision corrupt, he made it clear that Roach had a legitimate case for victory.
Tank, you lost that fight. I mean, the only reason they gave you the fight was because you would make more money as a champion, but there's no way it's a draw, and they didn't call the knockdown. If they called a knockdown, you lost that unanimous.
Another key takeaway from Mayweather's reaction was his indirect criticism of Tank's corner. While he didn't outright say that Davis struggled due to Calvin Ford's absence, his comments hinted at deeper issues within Tank's team. "What makes a fighter isn't just skill, it's the team around him," Mayweather stated, taking a clear shot at how Davis has been managing his career. It's no secret that Davis recently split from Leonard Ellerbe, and for the first time, he fought without Calvin Ford in his corner. Whether people want to admit it or not, those changes clearly had an impact. The timing of all this made the situation even crazier. Just weeks ago, Tank was seen as a real threat to Shakur Stevenson. Now, after this performance, fans are already questioning whether he even stands a chance. Mayweather's words only added to the doubts. When one of the greatest names in boxing openly says you struggled against someone you were expected to dominate, it shifts the entire narrative. And the fact that Floyd even went as far as saying Roach deserved the win suggests he saw something in that fight that made him question everything.
We'll never see that fight happen again. It just will not happen. Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't like hard fights. It's that simple. We've seen it over and over. He fought a Ryan Garcia drained. He fought a very inexperienced Rolly Romero. He will not fight Devin Haney. He will not fight Shakur. He will not fight Pitbull Cruz again. He will not fight Lamont Roach again. He will not fight.
Floyd Mayweather has always approached boxing with a businessman's mindset, so the fact that he didn't defend Davis and instead praised Roach speaks volumes. This is the same Mayweather who once called Tank the future of boxing, but now, it seems like he's viewing him differently. It almost felt like Mayweather was sending a subtle, "I told you so" message. He has always stressed the importance of discipline, the right team, and proper preparation, and now, Tank was dealing with the consequences of not listening.
Really in there, man. I thought I won. I thought I did enough to get the victory over a spectacular fighter. I told y'all from the beginning, man, that I got the skills to pay the. I've been telling.
Some believe Mayweather still holds a grudge against Davis over how their relationship fell apart. They think Floyd uses moments like this to remind everyone that he was the one who built Tank's career, and that without his guidance, things are starting to unravel. Whether that's true or not, there's no denying that Mayweather's comments carried serious weight. This wasn't just a casual reaction, it was a statement. The fact that he focused on what went wrong for Tank instead of making excuses showed that he's no longer interested in protecting him.
I'm not sure, bro. I'm definitely not sure, but hopefully we could get it before. Nah, it probably won't be this year.
It's not just Floyd Mayweather criticizing Tank. His entire family seems to be weighing in. Jeff Mayweather, Floyd's uncle and an experienced boxing trainer, also shared his thoughts on the fight and the controversy surrounding it. His perspective aligned with Floyd's critiques, further raising concerns about the fight's integrity and the officiating. Jeff specifically addressed the moment in the 9th round when Davis unexpectedly took a knee after a jab from Roach. He pointed out that, according to boxing rules, this should have been ruled a knockdown in Roach's favor. In an interview, Jeff stated, "If we go by the rules of boxing, it was a knockdown. That's what they're doing, they're boxing. So yes, it should have been counted as a knockdown." If the judges had scored that round 10-8 for Roach, it could have significantly changed the outcome of the fight.
About that, but if you take a knee in the fight and you touch down, whilst punches are being thrown, it has to be a knockdown. I've heard some people saying, "Oh, that he should be disqualified. He went back to the corner." I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that's a warning, but it's a bit of a bizarre situation for me. Like, there was a lot of people in boxing.
Expanding on the impact of this missed call, Jeff Mayweather pointed out that such officiating mistakes can change the course of a fight. He suggested that the referee's failure to acknowledge the knockdown not only affected the scorecards, but may have cost Roach a well-earned victory. This echoed Floyd Mayweather's earlier comments about the importance of fair play and the crucial role referees have in ensuring unbiased results. Jeff also touched on a bigger issue, officiating consistency in boxing. He expressed concern that subjective referee decisions can lead to controversies that damage the sport's credibility. By failing to enforce the rules properly, officials risk undermining fighters' efforts and the sport's overall integrity. This viewpoint aligned with Floyd's criticism of how the referee ignored Davis's alleged shoulder bumps during the fight. Now, Tank Davis finds himself in a tough spot. His controversial draw with Lamont Roach Jr. has split the boxing world. Some believe Roach was robbed, while others argue Davis simply underestimated him. However, when it comes to a potential rematch, most agree that Tank should dominate the second fight, just like Floyd Mayweather did in his rematch with Jose Luis Castillo back in 2002. But there's a key difference. Mayweather was still proving himself at that time, while Davis is already a superstar. And that changes everything.
What discredit thing is, he's still a pound-for-pound fighter.
Yeah. What do you think about that fight that happened? You thought it was just an off night, or?
Everybody has an off night. Everybody has an off night. Shit, I had a night with Cruz. Everyone has a night. It's boxing.
You want to run that back?
For Mayweather, the Castillo rematch was about cementing his status as an elite fighter. But for Davis, a rematch with Roach isn't about proving his skills. It's about repairing his reputation. The damage has already been done. Talks of favoritism, debates over whether Roach deserved the win, and the controversy surrounding Davis taking a knee in the 9th round have all cast doubt on his standing in the sport. But the real question is, will a rematch truly silence those doubts? Or will it simply give Roach another shot to do what many believe he already did? Expose Tank's weaknesses?
Decision, or I think a draw was meant to be. So I like the draw.
Do you like the draw? I think like the knee though. Was that a good call on the ref?
No, if you take a knee, man, if you take a knee in the 90s, or in 2000, you're taking the point off. That's the bottom line. You're taking the.
If Davis agrees to a rematch, the expectation will be for him to dominate. Anything less would further damage his legacy. But there's a risk. Rematches can be unpredictable. Just ask Anthony Joshua, who thought he'd handle Andy Ruiz Jr. easily the second time around, only to struggle against a better prepared opponent. If Davis underestimates Roach again, or if Roach steps into the ring with even more confidence, an upset isn't out of the question. Then there's the financial side. Unlike Mayweather, who had everything to gain from a Castillo rematch, Davis wouldn't see much benefit. Roach isn't a big name, and the fight wouldn't be a blockbuster pay-per-view event. The only real reward would be silencing critics. But is that worth the risk? This is where Floyd Mayweather's past decisions come into play. Floyd was always strategic. He never took a fight unless it made sense financially. Would he have given Castillo a rematch if it didn't boost his career? Probably not. Now, Davis, often compared to Mayweather, faces a similar dilemma. If there's no huge payday, why take the risk? If Davis skips the rematch, the next logical step would be a super fight. And there's no bigger fight for him than Shakur Stevenson. A showdown between an explosive power puncher and one of the best defensive boxers in the sport would create massive buzz. The biggest roadblock to a Davis versus Stevenson fight isn't skill, it's politics. Stevenson is now aligned with Eddie Hearn and, more importantly, Turki Al-Sheikh, the powerhouse behind boxing's biggest events in Saudi Arabia. The problem? Davis has made it clear he isn't eager to work with Al-Sheikh. He's openly questioned fighters who are chasing Saudi money, wondering if they're still in it for the love of the sport. That stance has created major obstacles in negotiations, and with Stevenson now firmly in Al-Sheikh's camp, the fight seems more unlikely than ever. The irony is, if Davis wants the biggest fights, he may have no choice but to work with the Saudi billionaire. Al-Sheikh is controlling the sport's biggest events, and if Davis keeps refusing, he risks missing out on massive paydays. If Stevenson is off the table, who else is there? Teofimo Lopez Jr. is currently tied up with a major-time square fight card and has a history of difficult negotiations. Vasily Lomachenko would have been a blockbuster fight a few years ago, but at 37, he's nearing retirement. Would he even be motivated to face Davis at this stage?
Your reaction to Tank retiring?
He's retiring?
That's what he said.
Nah, he's not retiring. It's not a big fight to be made out there, and Tank knows that. I don't think he's gonna retire. With a lot of.
Keyshawn Davis is a solid fighter, but he's not a mainstream name. Hardcore fans might appreciate the matchup, but it wouldn't generate the kind of hype Tank is used to. Then there's WBC junior welterweight champion Alberto Puello. He recently won a world title, and Davis could target him to grab another belt. But let's be honest, does anyone really care about Tank fighting Puello? Probably not. This is the real issue Davis is facing. If he doesn't take the Roach rematch and refuses to work with Al-Sheikh, he's running out of high-profile opponents. Despite all this, Davis isn't in danger of becoming irrelevant. His name alone is enough to sell out arenas. Just look at the 19,250 fans who packed the Capital One Arena for his fight against Roach. Even in controversy, he remains a major attraction. But that kind of draw won't last forever.
A knockdown. Look, I ain't the ref. I ain't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he had to wipe sweat out his eye, he had to wipe sweat out his eye. But the rules do state, if you voluntarily take a knee, then that's an automatic 8 count. But it is what it is. I wasn't relying on that. I was relying on what I was doing in there.
Boxing fans are getting impatient. They want to see Davis in mega fights. If he keeps facing lower-tier opponents, the excitement around his career could start to fade. That's why Floyd was always strategic with his matchups. He never let the fans grow tired of his fights. Davis, however, seems stuck. The best fights are blocked by political barriers, and the most obvious option, the Roach rematch, doesn't seem to interest him. The reality is that Davis can still make millions fighting whoever he wants. But if he truly cares about his legacy, he'll need to make a move soon. Will he finally accept a fight under Al-Sheikh's terms and face Stevenson? Will he surprise everyone and take on Teofimo Lopez? Or will he settle for an easy title grab against Puello? The most interesting part of this situation isn't just what Davis will do, it's how the fans will react. If he avoids the toughest fights, will people start questioning whether he's really the best at 135 and 140? Or will his star power be enough to keep him on top no matter who he fights? One thing is certain, Gervonta Davis is at a crossroads. He can either take the fights that will define his legacy or continue playing it safe. The choice is his. Ryan Garcia and Shakur Stevenson didn't waste any time reacting to Davis's controversial draw against Lamont Roach. Both fighters had strong opinions, and their responses only added more fuel to the fire surrounding Davis's performance. Ryan, as expected, didn't hold back. He went straight to the biggest talking point, Tank taking a knee in the 9th round. According to him, that moment should have been ruled a knockdown. He pointed out that Roach landed a clean jab, and instead of fighting back, Davis took a knee and went to his corner. That, in Garcia's eyes, was all the proof needed that Roach should have won. It was a knockdown, Ryan posted, making sure the world knew he wasn't buying Tank's excuse about something getting in his eye. And it wasn't just Ryan. Many in the boxing community, including Terrence Crawford, agreed that the moment should have been scored in Roach's favor.
When I get caught while my eyes was burning, you can get knocked out like that. So I'd rather take the knee than, but I ain't really know that you can get disqualified for all that. Or when you start counting, I'm like, what the hell?
Garcia took it even further, questioning whether Tank was truly at his best or if something was wrong behind the scenes. He pointed out a crucial detail that had mostly gone unnoticed before, the absence of Calvin Ford in Tank's corner. After the disappointing result, people started connecting the dots. Barry Hunter had stepped in as Tank's trainer, and suddenly, his performance didn't look like what fans were used to seeing. To Ryan, this was no coincidence.
Weisfeld and Glenn Feldman both scored the bout 114 to 114, even a draw. The decision is a majority draw.
What? I don't know. I think he's had much better performances. I don't know if it was personal problems or issues with the trainer. Something's going on, Ryan speculated. Then there was Shakur Stevenson. Unlike Ryan, who went straight for the controversy, Shakur took a more calculated approach. He didn't outright claim that Roach was robbed, but he did emphasize that Roach performed better than expected. Before the fight, Shakur had predicted that Roach would go the distance, and he made sure to remind everyone that he was right. I told y'all, Roach is better than people think, he said. While he didn't attack Tank as aggressively as Ryan did, his message was clear: Davis had been exposed.
Can't even see who it is. Hey, who is the dude? Who is the dude?
And that right there is...
Floyd Mayweather himself weighed in, and his comments only made things worse for Tank. Floyd didn't just criticize Tank's performance. He went as far as to say that Shakur Stevenson could beat him with ease. For years, Floyd had promoted Davis as the next big thing, but now he was openly doubting him. Some saw it as Floyd simply being honest, while others believed he was trying to push for a fight between Tank and Shakur. Either way, it was a huge statement coming from a man who knows boxing better than almost anyone.
Who you gonna fight next?
That's what I'm talking about. That's the question right there. I want to unify at 135. Me and Shakur already talked to each other, and if he's available and we can line it up.
With Floyd essentially co-signing Shakur's skills, the possibility of that fight happening just became even more interesting. Tank and Shakur have been circling each other for years, but nothing has ever materialized. Now, with Davis coming off a shaky performance and Shakur looking for a big-name opponent, the timing seems perfect. The only problem? Tank has made it clear that he doesn't want to deal with Turki Al-Sheikh, the Saudi boxing power player who now has ties to Shakur. This could make negotiations complicated, but at this point, it's one of the biggest fights that could be made.
What was your pick? And you said you would reveal it afterwards.
12 rounds, we're going to decision, but I want to run it back. Lamont didn't think. I thought
Ryan Garcia, on the other hand, still wants another shot at Tank himself. Their first fight ended in a brutal knockout loss for Ryan, but he has never stopped calling for a rematch. In his mind, Davis is no longer the same fighter who beat him the first time. He believes the draw against Roach is proof that Tank isn't as untouchable as people once thought. He's already throwing his name into the mix, hoping to get that second chance. But will Tank take the risk? The way things are looking, Davis doesn't have many great options. A rematch with Roach isn't appealing financially, and his feud with Mayweather Promotions means he won't get as much protection in matchmaking. Shakur and Ryan are both big-money fights, but they come with major risks. If he fights Shakur, he could lose to one of the best defensive boxers in the world. If he fights Ryan, he risks giving Garcia the revenge story he desperately wants.
Chain, check it for a big withdrawal around maybe 30 minutes after this fight. No shot. Somebody put the house on draw and just got a like 22x, something like that. A draw? The mathematical anomaly to have a draw with 3 different refs across what, 11 rounds?
For now, all eyes are on Tank. He promised that he had 3 fights left before retirement, and both Ryan and Shakur could very well be 2 of them. The only question is whether he's willing to take those fights while his stock is still high, or if he'll try to rebuild his reputation before stepping back into the fire. Either way, the boxing world is watching closely, and the pressure on Davis has never been higher. What do you think? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more updates.